You don't have to be a monk or a nun to meditate. Okay? Anyone can meditate. And some of the great practitioners in the Buddhist tradition have been not monastic people. Okay? Of course, many monastic people have been great meditators also. But either way. Okay? Some people say, do I have to become a monk or a nun to meditate? Of course not. What is meditation? It's familiarizing our mind with what is wholesome. Okay. Familiarizing our mind with what is wholesome. You've probably heard a lot of different things here and there about what is meditation, and most people are often confused. So I'm going to give a broad brushstroke, of what is meditation. And this is the broadest brushstroke. It's familiarizing, our mind with wholesome, like compassion, like love, like wisdom, like this change or impermanence that I talked about a little bit before. Things like this. It also, meditation develops the mind to become more stable. Stability is opposite of distraction or multitasking. We all know what distraction and multitasking is, so you have to imagine what stability is, okay? But if you're engrossed in something, if you're doing a math problem, if you're engrossed in fixing your bicycle, if you're engrossed in whatever you're doing, and you get engrossed in it, your mind for some time is stable. It's on that task, okay? That's stability, okay? Clarity is something that we probably don't know too well. It doesn't mean that the object is more clear. It means our mind is more clear. Now, there are times when our mind does seem to be more clear, and you probably have identified some of those times. We take that much deeper, the clarity, kind of recognizing the clarity of our minds through meditation. So our mind and the object become one, like water poured into water. Okay, no difference. That's being absorbed. And that's what happens with regular meditation. Okay? Two basic types. The first type is called concentration. It's also called focused meditation. It's also called, literally, the Tibetan is shine, and shi is peace, and ne is to stay. So we say calm, abiding. It's kind of a literal translation. It just means to focus the mind. Okay? Shamatha is the word that's often used from the Sanskrit. The Pali is similar. And the objects that we use are most commonly the breath. Okay? We focus on the breath. And most commonly it's focused at the base of the nose. Maybe if I can really go through quickly, we'll do it together. Let's see how much time we have. It could be a mental, could be a mental image of the Buddha, okay? A mental image. And that can be on our crown, in our heart, can be in front of us, usually facing the same direction we are. It could be the size of our palm. When we get better, the size of our thumb. And when we get much better, the size of a sesame seed in our heart chakra. Okay? Image of the Buddha. Or if we're involved with another religion, it could be Jesus Christ, it could be Muhammad, it could be Brahma, Shiva. And then, sorry, I went the wrong way. No. Oh yeah, sorry. Mind. So that's not easy to do. Okay, we have to identify experientially the important qualities of the mind, clarity and awareness. And once we're able to identify those, that's what we meditate, concentrate on. They're not easy to identify. Okay? So sometimes you see people kind of meditating like this. You ever seen people like this? Huh? They're meditating on the mind. Okay? The Dzogchen tradition in Buddhism, or the Mahamudra tradition in Buddhism, or the Zen tradition is very similar. Okay, very similar. Meditating on the mind itself. And the second type is analytical, and I've given 4 possible topics. There are many others. Suffering nature, okay? And the more we actually meditate on the suffering nature, it begins to enhance our compassion. Okay? Change, so there's gross impermanence. If I'm holding a cup of beautiful crystal vase and I drop it accidentally, shatters, okay, that crystal vase has become impermanent, it's broken. That's gross impermanence. Gross impermanence is only possible because there is subtle impermanence as part of nature. Subtle impermanence is change, momentary change. Okay? The scientists here know all about that. Everything's changing moment to moment. Okay? So we meditate on subtle impermanence, and the very accomplished meditators can experience that momentary change. Not easy to do. And what's good about that, I mean not good, what's helpful, what's healthy about that, is that when you come to your death, time of your death, no big deal. It's just momentary change, one moment to the next. You know, it's the concept we say, oh, I'm dying. It's a concept, not real. So these meditators that are very good at identifying subtle change, subtle impermanence, moment-to-moment change, all they see is one moment to the next. There's no death for them. It's a much richer experience when we die, and it's a much richer experience when we live, because every moment is fresh and new. Okay? It's a little bit like having Alzheimer's. And emptiness. Okay? That's the Buddhist wisdom. It doesn't mean nothing, but it's close to it. And we'll talk about that a little bit over the weekends. I'll say, so minding the gap, which we talked about briefly, that our appearances are not real. Okay? When we begin to recognize that gap, we're getting close to the understanding of emptiness. Okay? And I'll stop there for now. Okay, this is, I think, somebody in a past life. Sitting after about two and a half hours, maybe 2 hours of meditation inside this MRI scanner. Okay? And, you know, we were wrapped in and couldn't move, and we had a little headphone and a little, microphone and headphones. We could hear and talk. And we were told to do different meditations at different times and to stop meditating. So we had 4 different activities to do during this 2-hour period. Meditation 1 or number 2 or number 3 or no meditation. Stop meditating. First meditation was shamatha, the concentration stuff. We chose our object. The second meditation they called open awareness. They called it open presence. It's like Dzogchen or Mahamudra. It's like meditating on the mind, okay, where your field is wide open, but you don't fixate on anything. Okay? And the third meditation was that same one, open presence, with compassion. And you were free to however you kind of juiced it to bring the compassion into the meditation. Okay? And they did, basically, there was some psychological testing, but primarily fMRI, functional magnetic resonance, MRI, and EEG, electroencephalography. So this is the brain, this is the front, this is the back, top, bottom, okay? Temporal lobe is here. This in blue is the prefrontal cortex. It's a huge area. And that area was, so this study involved about 11 long-term meditators who had a minimum of 10,000 hours of experience. 10 hours, I wish. 10,000 hours of experience. And what they found was that the prefrontal cortex was structurally more developed. It was bigger on MRI scanning. And also there was more blood flow. It seemed to be more active. And what happens in the prefrontal cortex, it's called the executive control center, executive function. Okay? Higher level, kind of cognitive function happens in the prefrontal cortex. So things like planning, reasoning, imagination. Not exactly our identity, but some sense of who we are, and particularly who we are in terms of others, kind of social orientation, okay? And effective socialization, and also empathy, feeling like the other person is feeling, empathy. Okay? These were more highly developed in the long-term meditators compared to controls. Okay, these were some meditation expertise, enhanced emotional sharing, and a broad perspective, okay, compared to the control group of non-meditators. And they're showing here stuff in the insula and the anterior insula, more highly developed areas of emotional sharing and broad perspective that occur. And I don't know who this is. He's lost his hair, lost his cap. So what they found was these gamma waves, which are high intensity, high amplitude, and high frequency, so they come quickly. This part is my drawing before and after is an actual EEG, okay? I didn't have the tracing when I made this slide of the burst. These are gamma waves, and when they come, in a group, they're called bursts. So these bursts of gamma waves happened only when the long-term meditators were meditating. When they were told to stop, those things went away, and in non-meditators who were trained for 2 weeks did not show up. Okay? So first they thought it was some kind of muscle artifact, facial, scalp, or something. They've done a lot of work to factor that out. It's not muscle artifact. And now they're still not sure, but they think it has to do with synchronicity over the cortex, harmonization, different parts of the cortex, kind of talking to each other, which is radical because traditionally neurology thought that maybe 1 millimeter or 2 maximum, cortex could talk, communicate. So this is something very new. They don't fully know what it means, but it seems to be real. Okay, there are some applications of meditation. This is for relapse. This is for depression relapse. And you can see going out about 2 years that SSRIs, the standard antidepressant medications, versus MBCT, is a mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. It's a type of meditation, okay, was equal for, preventing depression relapse. That's powerful, okay? This was done by Siegel in 2010, published in the Archives of General Psychiatry. Oh, okay, this has got a lot on here. Let's see if I get the next one. There we go. So this is talking about the difference between task-specific learning and process-specific learning or memory. Okay? So there's a classic study by, I think it's McGuire. Yeah, McGuire did a couple of them. This one was 2009. There's a couple of them with taxi drivers. And showing that the length of time that do I have that here? I think it's up with this. I think this is the taxi drivers, I think. Anyway, the length of time that they drive a taxi, their memory increases, but it's task specific. So if they're only the memory for streets in New York, I think there were New York taxi drivers they looked at, that memory increases. But if you transpose that memory to some other domain, it doesn't work. They don't have better memory. Okay? So it's task specific. Meditators, the opposite, or not the opposite, more broad. It's process specific. So across disciplines, across areas, the memory will be enhanced with long-term meditation.